Hello, my name is Justin Stairs. This is the Brussels Signal Studio, and our guest today is Rob Roos. Thank you very much for coming in, Mr. Roos. He is the Vice President of the ECR group, that's the centre-right group in the European Parliament, a businessman in his own right in the Netherlands, and an independent MEP. I know that you've been involved in these issues, including the Digital Services Act. You are one of the negotiators on this piece of legislation which attempts to legislate on social media. What is your opinion of the state of this law today and the state of free speech in the European Union?
Yeah, in one word, it's terrible. When I did the negotiations, I tried to have a definition about what is harmful speech and what is hate speech. Of course, they didn't want to make that definition because no one is able to make a definition of that. But with this new law, this Digital Services Act, now they turn the things around. Normally, if you now they created a law to suppress people because this is what it is. It's censorship, misinformation, disinformation. We have seen a lot of it by our governments, even by our European Commission during the COVID period. Terrible time. There was no real debate. People were not able to speak out. There was only one right narrative, and that was the ones of the governments. It was everywhere the same, except in Sweden. It was a little bit different. But now they have made a law to use it to silence people. And I always say that free speech is not only a right, it is an obligation. It's really an obligation, and it's a necessity for a healthy democracy.
Right. I mean, I think many people would agree with you. But in terms of the Digital Services Act, correct me if I'm wrong, but the problem is a definition of hate speech, right? Yes. I mean, what is hate speech? I mean, anyone can define hate speech according to their own terms. Is this the essence of the problem?
Yeah, well, it's about misinformation and disinformation, but also hate speech and harmful speech. And yeah, you cannot define it because it's a feeling, it's an emotion. It's for you, it's different than for me. I don't care what people call me all kinds of names, but for me it's not a problem. But especially the left, the liberal left is using this to silence people who have a let's say a different opinion about things. And in a healthy democracy, we need a debate. This is what a democracy is about. And if you cannot speak freely, then the democracy is really under pressure, and that is what's going on right now.
And the same applies, I guess, to definitions of misinformation and disinformation. Only, obviously, this is very sensitive at the moment because Europe and European governments feel under threat. There's the Ukraine-Russia conflict, for example, and attempts by foreign powers, perhaps, to influence the debate here. I mean, what is the solution then? Obviously, we want to protect ourselves from that kind of influence, and at the same time we want freedom of speech. Is there any kind of compromise possible?
Yes, the fight against disinformation was meant to prevent foreign interference, especially during elections, for example by China or Russia or Turkey. But now this is used to silence their own citizens with a different opinion, an unwilling opinion for the left. Of course, we have to fight against disinformation, and it is important, but silencing people is not the solution. I think if we want to have a real democracy, we need as much as possible free speech.
Right.
And you can be harmful and you can be hateful. It's also a right.
Okay, so would you consider yourself to be a free speech fundamentalist?
Absolutely.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
nothing should be censored, essentially.
Well, if it's about calling out for violence, or what is legal offline should also be legal online.
This is what the commissions say. This is what they say they're doing.
These were my words, and they start repeating it
Oh,
all
I
over
see.
and all over.
Yeah.
So when I was doing this negotiations, I've said that, but in practice they are doing the opposite. Really, we have seen. It's of course this is not the EU, but last week we saw in Scotland on April 1, Fool's Day, that. You cannot argue about the physical aspects between a man and a
This
woman.
is the gender debate, right?
The gender debate, and it's a hate crime. You can go to prison. In Canada, we see opinion crimes. Only the word is insane. Opinion crimes. You can go to jail for life for the wrong opinion. This is a disease, an autoimmune disease of the West. We only see this in the West. We have something very precious, and that is called democracy. We don't see that in many other parts of the world. But democracy is really disappearing. And it starts with censorship, always.
So what does this mean for the European elections? Here we are now, very close, and I've had people sitting in your chair there who say that they have already been turned down, their reach has been reduced, members of your parliament, deliberately by social media, different social media, at the request of national authorities. I mean, I guess that they're doing this because... I'm presuming it's true. I guess they're doing it because they're afraid. I mean, what do you think? Is there a solution? I repeat my question. What can we do?
The establishment is really afraid of what's going on, because people don't buy it anymore. The establishment, they had a chance. It's their obligation also, as a politician, to make people's lives better. But they make people's lives very expensive, very complicated. Illegal immigration, the energy bill, the farmers, our food system. They destroyed our energy system. They destroyed our food system. Illegal immigration is growing, and people are fed up with it. They don't accept it anymore. And that's why people are moving to more conservative political parties if it comes to a vote. So they are really afraid. The only thing they are doing now is not coming up with better solutions. No, they try to scare people that the far right, and we have this Russia game that they also played with President Trump. Last week we had this Voice of Europe thing. There is no...
This is the alleged influence scandal.
Yes, there is no evidence whatsoever. They have no names. They have nothing. But they connect people, even with pictures in the newspaper, to create a feeling of this is not good, and this is not what politics should be about. It's a dirty game. If you want to win the vote of the people, you have to come up with making people's lives better, with good solutions. Now they do the opposite. They try to scare people off, and that they don't vote for the opposition.
Just one practical question to round off this free speech debate. For example, the European Commission, but not only, national governments as well, when the Ukraine war broke out, one of the first things they did was to switch off Russia Today and Russia channels on the grounds that this was propaganda. So I presume you would be against that.
Yes, I was not in favor of these channels, of course not, but I don't think this is the solution. For example, on my Twitter, X nowadays, there are many people who disagree with me and also use all kinds of ugly words, but I don't block them because they have the right to say that about me. As long as they don't threaten me, they can have an opinion about me. That's it's not fun. I don't like it, but it's their right. And this is also about this Russian channels. I don't think it's a solution to shut it down. If people want to listen to it, they can do it anyway. You know, you make a VPN,
Right.
so it doesn't make any sense.
Okay. Now, I want to move on to the European elections, and then after the elections, of course, here in Brussels, the heads of the big institutions are going to change, or maybe not. One person who is up for, I always say, reappointment rather than re-election is Mrs. von der Leyen. What is your opinion of her, and would you vote for her? You didn't vote for her the first time, or
No.
No. And what is your assessment of her mandate?
No, I didn't vote for her in the first place because she had already, let's say, not so good reputation when she was a minister in Germany. There were all kinds of investigations going on against her. So I didn't vote for her. I voted against. Unfortunately, my Polish colleagues, they give, because she was voted with only 9 or 8.
Right, a small
very
majority.
small majority. So she didn't have a real strong mandate. But the Polish colleagues also regret because they promised, she promised them everything, but of course it was false. No, I don't want her to come back. And why? Because she's not transparent. I asked questions about this Pfizer gate, the text messages with Mr. Bourla. It's about 40 billion euros contract, and she was interfering with the negotiations.
Right, this is the story that she had SMS exchanges with key executives, and we don't know where they are or what the content of these messages contain.
It's about taxpayers' money. Right. It's about the people's money that was spent, and it should be transparent.
Right.
We should have a clear view how this money was spent. I asked urgent written questions about that, but I never received an answer. The ombudsman also called it maladministration, what she did, and that's a very it's a very tough accusation. Correct? Yeah. And also the European Court of Auditors asked questions, but they never received any answer.
Right.
So if you are not transparent, then you don't deserve a second term. And this is also a key issue, because politicians and the government should be as transparent as possible, and people should have as much as privacy as possible. And you see this is shifting. They take away the privacy of the people, and the government is not transparent anymore. So this is a very bad sign.
And in fact, on the subject of parliamentary questions, you've been pushing for more transparency here as well. In fact, you're not the only person. Several people have told me that, mentioned the fact that the parliamentary questions don't get answered, or the delays are now huge, months rather than weeks. Right. What's going on there? Do you think this is a deliberate tactic to stall? By who, if so, by the European Commission or the European Parliament leaders, or have they got together? Why is there now less transparency in that field?
Yeah, the thing is that we, as representatives of the people, have a main task, and that is to control the Commission, the unelected Commission. They are not elected. They have a lot of power, too much, as far as I'm concerned. And the only thing we can do is to find out what they are doing, and asking them questions. We have, of course, they call it debate, but it isn't a debate. You never get an answer over there. Even von der Leyen, because I'm the vice president, I speak a lot when we have council debates. But when the first round is over, when the presidents of the groups are done with their speeches and their questions, von der Leyen disappears. You know, she is not interested at all to listen to the representatives of the people. The other instrument that we have is to ask written questions. And if it's urgent, we can also ask urgent written questions. But my team analyzed 28,000 written questions. That are all the questions during this mandate that have been asked by the MEPs. And the thing that I discovered myself, because these answers are not only very bad, but they are also very late. Urgent written questions should be answered within 3 weeks, and regular questions should be answered in 6 weeks. And there is an average of 40 days delay. And if you get an answer, it's not an answer at all.
They avoid it. They avoid the question.
It's rubbish. I don't have another word for it. So we, as MEPs, we have no way to control the Commission. And we can also not send one of the commissioners to,
get
rid of them. Because this is the state of our European democracy. They call it the heart of the center of the European democracy, but there is no democracy. The European Commission has so much power, and we are not able to control them. And this is so that's why I made an official complaint at the European Ombudsman, because this has to change in the next mandate.
Well, but as you said earlier, the Commission has already been found guilty of maladministration over this Pfizergate business. I mean, is there any reason to suspect or to hope that they will change in the next mandate?
Well, we have to push them. For example, I use this example. The Ombudsman herself, she called it the Pfizergate maladministration, and because she made this accusation. Sorry, yes. Yeah, okay. Because I start asking urgent written questions about that. It took me 7.5 months to receive an answer, without any answer. It was nothing. 7.5 months urgent written question. So they just ignore us. But we have to be strong, and we have to bring down on the knees. But this is also why von der Leyen is not the right person to come back. We need something who is really fighting for the people and making people's lives better.
Of course, I understand everything you're saying, but at the same time, is she and the system seems to have a lot of support within the European Parliament as well. I have heard accusations that as far as these parliamentary questions are concerned, and the delays, the obstruction, if you like, that perhaps even some leaders within the Parliament are getting together or are in agreement with the European Commission. Is that a fair accusation?
I have no idea. I cannot answer that question. I don't know. But I do know that the EPP is really protecting the Commission all the time, especially von der Leyen. She comes from the Christian Democrats, of course. But there is no transparency, and this is not the way it should go in a democracy. Right,
EPP, that's the European People's Party, the biggest group in the Assembly. Okay, let's move on. Farmers, the Netherlands, two fairly big words. The farmers have been here more than once protesting and burning tyres. Are you a supporter?
Very much, yeah, very much. No farmers, no food, no future. And that's really the case. The attack on the farmers is insane. What I said before, they destroyed our energy system with this Green Deal, but another part of the Green Deal is the farm to fork strategy. And they want to replace animal proteins with plant proteins. But this is also not asked by the people. It's not a question that people said, we want to change that. It's just a top-down approach by, let's say, this globalist. farmers are way more important than politicians. They produce our food, and we need it 3 times a day. What these people are going through is really terrible. In the Netherlands, every 12 days, no, in average of 12 days, a farmer kills himself. They bring them really, they make them desperate. And these people do not know what their future is anymore. And they first in the Netherlands, they had to create, let's say, bigger farms. So they they went to the bank and had loans to invest in their company, because they are not only farmers, they are also entrepreneurs. And now the Commission come with all kinds of regulation, and it's not possible anymore. These people are more behind the computer than they are sitting on the tractor.
Bureaucracy.
Absolutely. And they make their lives so difficult that that they have a lot of debt, and they have no income anymore. A lot of the land, this 10% is not. They are not.
They're supposed to leave fallow. You mean?
Yeah, it's their land. You know,
Right.
if it's the same that the Commission says you cannot use 10% of your garden anymore. It's your property.
Right. So
And
they
it-
should be. You're saying they should be allowed to do what they want with it. Is that
It's
right?
their land,
Okay.
but all this, but it's again, it's not what the people have asked for.
Hmm.
And we, if we have learned one thing during COVID, is that we should not depend on foreign countries. Let's say not other continents. We should produce our food ourselves. Food security is a matter of national security, and it's very important. And if we look back in the history, the attack on the farmers that started also in 1930 with Stalin, a lot of people died. 1960, Mao did the same. They changed the system, and it all started with the farmers. And also a lot of people died, millions. And now we are doing the same here in Europe. It's we should not depend on other countries. We should produce our own energy. We should produce our own food. It's so important.
Now, I had a Green MEP sitting in your chair not long ago, Tilly Metz from Luxembourg, in fact, and she was also sympathetic with the farmers. But what she said was that the problem is not the Green Deal because nature needs to be maintained or there will be no food. She said that the problem was, in fact, the bureaucracy connected with the common agricultural policy itself. What do you say to that?
I agree on a part of that. The farmers don't get a fair price for their product. The food they produce should have a fair price, but let's say the agri-food system that's wrong. There's something going wrong over there. Now the farmers depend on subsidies, and they don't want that because they depend on subsidies. The European Commission is able to control them. I think farmers should have a fair price, and this whole food system should be changed. But this is between the farmers and the store where we buy our stuff. So yeah, but the Green Deal is, of course, a problem because the left they want us to eat in a different way, to live in a different way. They push their way of living to everyone on this planet. But if they want to live like that, it's okay. They have the right, but they don't have the right to tell me how to live because I want to determine that myself.
Okay. One final question for you, and it's a bit of a philosophical question. Is there such a thing as a European identity?
No.
Why not?
No. It's. I'm always surprised when in the European Parliament they start the European anthem, but there isn't. It's not a country. And this is not European. So I always sit down. I never stand up because I love my country. I'm born in the Netherlands. I love the people in Spain. I love the people in France. I love the people in Germany. and this makes us a great continent, because we have so many cultures and living together, working together. And no, I really don't believe in the United States of Europe. It's not there.
But what about this notion, though, that maybe there are some fundamental things that we all share, like a respect for democracy, minority rights, human rights? Is that a fair point, that if you dig really deep, you'll find something that all Europeans have in common?
Then you agree on values, but you can agree on values. I can also agree on values with my neighbor, and this is exactly the same. No, we really don't need a European identity. And if people identify themselves as a European, it's fine with me, but I will never do that. I was born and raised in the Netherlands. I'm proud of my country. I will fight for my country, and maybe not as an MEP, but in a different way. And yes, I live in Europe, but I will never identify myself as a European.
Mr. Roos, thank you once again for coming into the Brussels Signal studio. We appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much for watching.